This was the most insanely chaotic game of Fortnite I've played in a long time, and the ending doesn't make any sense. It started like any other game, by cleaning house of the bots. But everything blew up in our faces when we entered mid-game just outside of Brutal Boxcars. At first glance, everything appeared normal as TE and myself entered the area. We noticed an enemy player shooting at FCLTD Society, who was following us up from behind in a X-Wing, but that seemed normal too. That was, of course, until FCLTD Society got shot down out of the sky. This is when the whole game blew up and shifted from a walk in the park to utter chaos. The enemy team who had pulled up in the SUV was stuck on the bridge and taking fire from Sigma Reggie and the TIE Fighter. Reggie crashed into the ground, but not before he knocked enemy player Elemental 7025. Miss Silent jumped out, while Aussie Hero 365 attempted to drive away, only to return in the SUV with Sigma Reggie and FCLTD Society hot on their heels in the X-Wing and TIE Fighter. Little did I know we were only warming up by this stage, and the epic battle of Brutal Boxcars was to rage on with a new team rolling up on us. I spotted OG Jake the Snake 11 taking shots at Sigma Reggie, and I put him down with my DLT-19 blaster rifle. OG Jake the Snake 11's teammates attempted a rescue, but hightailed it out of the area only to get blasted by myself and Sigma Reggie in the X-Wing. Bogan Hunter 81 went down in the explosion while Buckethead Troop made for cover. This proved to be futile as he tasted the pointy end of my DLT-19 blaster rifle, much the same as his teammates. At this point, we felt like we had command of the area, but it all started to turn on us with TE going down to the medallion player of the third team rolling in, and what I felt was a fourth team on the mountain above Brutal Boxcars. Sigma Reggie was still flying around in the X-Wing as I left FCLTD Society to make a play for TE's reboot card, but as I did, FCLTD Society took some heavy damage. Somehow Bogan Hunter 81 was still alive amidst all of the chaos, and another enemy thought to run me over, with little success and only to escape by the skin of their teeth. As I grabbed TE's reboot card, both FCLTD Society and Sigma Reggie got knocked at 157 meters by enemy player Just Playin from the mountaintop using a IQA-11 marksman rifle. With the storm now on us, I attempted to get to FCLTD Society for the res, but in the final moments, the storm took him. As it was only one tick and I had 2 reboot cards, I boxed up and rebooted TE and FCLTD Society. This may not have been the best decision, and it was more a hope and prayer with the medallion team still in the area, but I threw caution to the wind and stuck it. I hopped the passing train to catch a ride out of the area, but TE was AFK and got knocked immediately. As Sigma Reggie is the best player on the team, FCLTD Society made the call to try and collect his reboot card, which FCLTD Society knew would result in his life. My role was to get out of there and try to reboot Sigma Reggie in a less volatile area. Little did I know I was moving from the fire straight into the frying pan. FCLTD Society was successful in getting Sigma Reggie's reboot card and was somehow still alive while I raced against the storm once again. But this wasn't to last, as a familiar name popped up in the feed, Just Playin, a player who was starting to become a pest. The thought of winning was becoming a grim one. As 11 enemies remained, I was on my own, and the race against the moving zone continued. But I could see the clear sky ahead of me. As I came over the hill crest, I came across a familiar-looking player standing between me and an open path to the closest reboot van. It was Bogan Hunter 81 from the start of all this chaos. How is he still alive? He's like that cockroach that just won't die. With him out of the way and the reboot van only 142 meters away, I was starting to feel optimistic about a recovery against all these odds. Luck was starting to tip in our favor. With the reboot van just inside the circle and 9 players fighting each other on the island, there was a glimmer of hope for a comeback. No sooner had I rebooted Sigma Reggie, Vision Runner 18 rushed me, but not before Sigma Reggie shot him down in his tracks from a nearby tree. 8 players remained. Sigma Reggie and myself hit the double reboot to bring FCLTD Society and TE back to life. But we knew this wasn't going to go unnoticed this time around. Sigma Reggie ventured a little too close to the island, and it didn't take long for Punman01 to introduce him to the IQA-11 marksman rifle. And not much later, another familiar name popped into the feed, Just Playin, for the elim once again on FCLTD Society using the IQA-11 marksman rifle. this all felt very much like deja vu as I hopped the geyser instead of a train this time. There were still 6 enemy players, and I had to fly over the island in an attempt to get to the next zone, but this almost cost me my life as Punman01 and Just Playin proceeded to use me as target practice. FCLTD Society was out this time, but TE managed to res Sigma Reggie before he succumbed to the 5-tick storm. This was a fight gone bad in all senses. Myself, barely out of the storm and 35 health, no shield and under fire from multiple directions at the same time. A moving zone with Sigma Reggie still stuck in a 5-tick storm with 50 health and no shield. And the Medallion squad needing to go through me to get to the next zone. The odds of winning were probably 500 to 1. I managed to hold my walls long enough for Sigma Reggie to come blazing out of the storm in a vehicle. Together, we rushed forward, but I missed visuals on Jake WF91. I took 80 damage right as Sigma Reggie plowed his SUV into him, revealing enemy teammate Deceptive Potato 1, who I dealt with swiftly, and right before Jake WF91 finished me with a BS shotgun hit through a wall, there was no coming back for me this time, and it was down to the sweat, Sigma Reggie, for the win against 6 remaining players. The odds were still 250 to 1, but if there was anyone on our team to pull this off, it would be him. And then something happened that pushed the odds down to 50 to 1. Just Playin and Punman01 eliminated Jake Def91, who was rezzing Deceptive Potato 1 and bringing the game to a 1v3. This wasn't out of the question for Sigma Reggie, he's done it before, but he's been stacked in those moments, and this time round he's a shambles. The trio pushed Sigma Reggie's walls from multiple angles simultaneously, and I don't blame them. It must have seemed like an easy win, but he's equipped to handle these pressure moments. Sigma Reggie knew he couldn't take all 3 at once, so he tried to isolate them and pick them off one at a time, but the storm was now moving in too. He was basically one shot, and he couldn't afford a mistake. This was it. One of the trio exposed themselves, and they took 79 damage for it, but the storm forced Sigma Reggie into the open. He took 44 damage from Punman01, but handed back 92. 2 of them were weakened now, and he managed to finish Punman01. What happens next doesn't make sense. Jake WF91 eliminated Sigma Reggie, but if you recall, Just Playin eliminated Jake WF91. Are they teaming? And how is Jake WF91 still alive?